What's up guys, it's Griffin and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I am covering Kiera Bergman's case. It's not a missing person of 2018, but a murder mystery of 2018 that I wanted to cover because this one will leave you thinking for days on end. Okay, just a side note before we get started, I already filmed this video and also I'm not wearing this jacket in this video, but I wanted to let you guys know that this case is extremely confusing. Some of the information is probably a little discombobulated, but for the most part, I think it's in the correct order. If you guys have anything to add to the story, make sure to leave it in the comments down below, and I will pin anything that is relevant and anyone should look at to the top of the comments so that you guys can see that. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you now. Kiera Bergman was a 19-year-old who was a local in El Cajon, California. In April of 2018, she moved to Phoenix, Arizona with her boyfriend that she had met online. His name was John Christopher Clark. Her mother was extremely wary of her moving in with her boyfriend because she hadn't been dating him that long, and she didn't like that Kiera was going to be so far away from her. Little did she know that this would be the last time that she saw Kiera. Kiera moved to Indigo Creek Apartments at 51st Ave and Thunderbird. The morning of August 4th started like every other morning and she headed to work. She confided in a co-worker who it's also reported to have been her roommate, but I'm not entirely sure if it was roommate and co-worker or if they just mixed up this information and accidentally called her co-worker her roommate in an article. But she told her co-worker that she could possibly be pregnant, and she then called John to be picked up from work because she wasn't feeling well. It also happened to be John Clark's 23rd birthday that day. Less than an hour later, they arrived back at their place and were seen in their apartment bickering back and forth with each other. He FaceTimed multiple family members in front of her asking if he could move in with them because he no longer wanted to live with her. He wanted to leave Kiera behind and go live with someone else. Kiera's roommate arrived at the apartment at around 1 p.m. and couldn't find Kiera anywhere, so she got in her car and drove around a little bit but still could not find her. Unable to locate her, police were called and they arrived almost immediately at John Clark's apartment that he shared with Kiera and one other roommate. When they arrived on the scene, they noticed marks on the wall consistent with cleanup marks that would be left after someone tried to clean something up. And this hasn't been proven if it had anything to do with this case, but it was worthy enough to mention in an article. When they figured out that John was the last person to see Kiera, they obtained a search warrant for his car. When they searched, they found no evidence of Kiera, but they did find a bunch of identifications that didn't belong to him. He was charged with 22 accounts of identity theft and 2 accounts of forgery. Although unrelated to the case, police were grateful to have charges to hold him up until they could find enough evidence. He must have gotten released because after she went missing, he posted this extremely long novel on his Instagram, basically saying how much he loved her and how he would never wish harm upon her and how he would do anything to protect her. He also said that he had been completely open and cooperative with police, but in my eyes, he wasn't entirely open nor was he cooperative. He actually denied taking any polygraph tests, which I think looks slightly suspicious. Law enforcement caught John in a series of lies starting from what she was last seen wearing to inconsistencies in his stories of her disappearance that day. There was never any physical evidence of abuse with Kiera and John's relationship, although her friends do report seeing bruises on her at one point or another and people in her life being suspicious of whether or not there was any sort of domestic violence happening. He is also reported to have had access to almost all of her logins, like her Facebook, her Instagram accounts, bank accounts, and even texting her friends from her phone. The day that Kiera went missing, John went off the grid for 2 entire hours and no one heard from him whatsoever, and his phone was turned off for those 2 hours. Investigators believe that he sent texts using Kiera's phone to throw off the roommate as to where Kiera actually was. The text read, "Girl, my phone is about to die, but I'm blank done with John. I met this guy a couple days ago when I went to the store and I asked him to come pick me up, so I'm just chilling with him at his house smoking. I'll call you when I get a charger and make sure John leaves." When this text was sent though, apparently John's phone and Kiera's phone were both connected to the same Wi-Fi at their apartment, which is extremely suspicious because if Kiera was at this guy's house smoking, how could she be connected to her Wi-Fi also at the same time that John is when he said that she had stormed out of the apartment earlier? After authorities went through Clark's phone, they also discovered that he had written a suicide note. However, later he did say that he was in a bad mental state and the note meant nothing. He was just writing it to get his feelings out and he had forgotten about it. But this note was written after Kiera's disappearance, and I think that he felt some form of guilt and wanted to end things, but then something in him decided not to. Kiera's decomposing body was found 40 to 48 miles away from her home on September 3rd of 2018, just off of Highway 85. Her body was found by a cyclist, and she was reported to be wearing the same sweatshirt that she was last seen in, but her pants were nowhere to be found. The autopsy report has not been released yet, but we are still waiting to hear back what her cause of death was. Just about a week after Kiera's body was found, John Clark was arrested in suspicion of first-degree murder. There was so much evidence pointing to him being involved in this in some way, shape, and or form that they had no choice but to arrest him. He says that he was texting her the day after she disappeared, but it actually was just him on both of the phones. He asked her if he could borrow money, and he used her phone to respond and say yes, which is when he took $500 out of her account. He then went and filled up his car and went about his daily routine. And reports show that both their phones connected to the same Wi-Fi again on August 7th, just 3 days after she had disappeared. Obviously, some of the evidence in this case is the text messages, and I couldn't find exactly what was being said word for word, but I feel like I've given you guys a pretty good description of the text about the money, of the text that he sent to their roomie or their possible co-worker. Some reports say that he worked at the same place as them, but others say that he didn't, so I'm not sure if they worked together. But there's a lot of digital evidence that he partook in this crime. Theory number one is that he picked her up from work and took her home, found out that she could possibly be pregnant and didn't want that child or her to be around for that matter, so he got rid of her and disposed of her body on the side of the freeway. Theory number two is that she did storm outside, but Jonathan called a friend and they attacked her together and disposed of her body. Either way, in this case, I know for a fact, based on all the evidence, that there was not a situation or a scenario where John wasn't involved, aka he had something to do with it. He wouldn't have lied and changed his story so many times. I just don't know entirely why he committed this crime. He's still currently saying that he had nothing to do with it and that he's innocent, yet all of these people believe he is guilty, and I personally am one of those people. Due to lack of physical evidence though, police believe that he had help from someone else. They're looking for any tips or information that could lead to that person who helped him out, or any additional information in this case. If you guys have any information related to this case, although it's pretty much already solved, make sure to call 602-262-7626. That is the Phoenix Police Department, and you can help bring justice home for Kiera Bergman and her family. I hope you guys enjoyed this case, and if you guys have any suggestions of my last case to do for this series, please comment them down below and I will definitely be looking into them. Make sure to also turn on post notifications so that you guys will be notified of my next true crime video, and hopefully I will see you there. Bye!